Hi again. I want to talk to you today about leadership. There is a lot of preconceived ideas about leadership in the world today. Unfortunately, that is especially true in the church, in local churches, and in government, and even in businesses. But Jesus gave us some direction that is very informative. In Mark 10:35 to 45, it says, Then James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came to him. Teacher, they said, we want you to do for us whatever we ask. What do you want me to do for you? He asked. They replied, Let one of us sit at your right hand and the other at your left in your glory. When the 10 heard about this, the 10 other disciples, that is, they became indignant with James and John. Jesus called them together and said, You know that those who are regarded as rulers of the Gentiles lord it over them, and their high officials exercise authority over them. Not so with you. Instead, whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first must be slave of all. For even the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. So here we see Jesus telling us what leadership really is, what leadership should be. Leadership is not lording it over people. It's not exercising authority over people. It is becoming a servant. He who would be greatest among you must be the servant of all. A real good leader is one who serves those who has been elected by or been put in leadership by. Someone is put in leadership by other people in every case. If someone tries to take leadership, inevitably they lose it. They may have it for a short period of time, but they will lose it because leadership is something that is given by other people. Leadership is something that other people recognize in you and they follow you. People will follow a leader. If someone's a leader, people will generally follow them as long as they have good ideas. And that's the other half of the equation, is having good ideas, having wisdom. But a leader is a servant. And in our government, even, the president is supposed to be serving our nation. He's the leader of our nation so he can serve it, so he can serve the well-being of our nation and its people. All of our government officials, all the senators and all the House of Representatives and the Supreme Court and everyone in government, everyone in legislative branch, the judicial branch, and the executive branch, all those people, and in local and in the state government, the state governors, all these people, they were elected and they're supposed to represent the people. They're supposed to be serving the people. Leadership is servanthood. A leader is one who serves. And the problem we have is we get leaders who want to push their own will and they want power. And people who are hungry for power, they screw everything up because they're only interested in their own power and not the interests of the people they are serving. The perfect example here is in this Mark 10:35, where it said that James and John, the sons of Zebedee, came to Jesus and they said, they asked him, let one of us sit at your right hand and the other at your left in your glory. In other words, they asked Jesus, make us your special ones, make us your, we want to be observed as leaders and we want to be observed as special by everyone else. And they put themselves above everyone else. And you notice that all the other 10 disciples became indignant. It says right there in verse 41 that the other disciples became indignant. These two disciples were not being leaders. They were not going to be followed by the other 10 disciples. Because why? Because they were after their own selfish ends, their own selfish means. They weren't thinking of the rest of the group. They were thinking of themselves. They were saying, Jesus, let us sit at your right and left hand. Forget the other 10. Let us sit at your right and left hand. No, see, that's you're not going to get followers. You're not going to get people following you when you're thinking of yourself. Leadership is about servanthood. It's about serving other people. Secondly, servanthood is about making wise decisions. and it's about not being destructive. People are not going to follow someone who is just destructive and doesn't have wisdom. If you look at Luke 9:51 to 56, it says, "As the time approached for him to be taken up to heaven, Jesus resolutely set out for Jerusalem. And he sent messengers on ahead who went into a Samaritan village to get things ready for him. But the people there did not welcome him because he was heading for Jerusalem. When the disciples James and John saw this, they asked, 'Lord, do you want us to call fire down from heaven to destroy them?' But Jesus turned and rebuked them and said, 'You know not what manner of spirit you are of. For the Son of Man is not come to destroy men's lives, but to save them.' And they went to another village." So here we see that his leadership was not destructive. He wasn't out to destroy people who were competition. He wasn't out to destroy competition. He had his own agenda, his own thing that he was trying to fulfill, his own mission he was trying to fulfill. And those who followed him, he didn't expect them to be destructive of others. And that's another aspect of leadership, is not being destructive of others, but instead accomplishing your own goals, accomplishing your own mission. That's what you're trying to do. You're not trying to destroy other people's missions. You're trying to accomplish your own. And that's what happened here. Jesus saw that these people were not accepting him, and he that wasn't part of his mission to destroy these people. His mission was to go to Jerusalem and give his life for all of us. And he knew that, and he wasn't going to let people who were opposed to him stand in his way and cause them to be discouraged. And he certainly wasn't going to destroy them. Destruction is not a sign of a good leader. Being destructive is not a sign of a good leader. And Jesus rebuked them and said, "You know not what manner of spirit you are of, for the Son of Man is not come to destroy men's lives, but to save them." We're not here to be destructive. We're here to build people up, to strengthen them, to make them stronger. We're not here to destroy people's lives. We're here to help people. And then we have the exclusivity factor. Luke 9:49 to 50. "Master," said John, "we saw a man driving out demons in your name, and we tried to stop him, because he is not one of us." "Do not stop him," Jesus said, "for whoever is not against you is for you." Once again, Jesus is not being destructive. But not only that, the disciples here said, "Well, we should stop him from driving out demons because he's not one of us." That's called exclusivity. That's called you see someone else doing something and you want to stop them from doing it because you're doing the same thing. And that's competition. And Jesus is not opposed to competition. It's not really competition. It's working on the same side. And if you're doing something with another group of people, you're not in competition with that group of people. You're just trying to accomplish your goals. "Do not stop him," Jesus said, "for whoever is not against you is for you." So that's an interesting statement. Whoever is not against you is for you, because then you read in Luke 11:23, Jesus said, "He who is not with me is against me, and he who does not gather with me scatters." Now here he stated a truth. The truth of the matter is, he who is not with Jesus is against him, because there's only two sides of the coin. You either believe in Jesus or you don't. There is no middle ground. There's no gray territory. People say that these two verses are a contradiction because they don't understand that there are only two choices. You're either, if you're against Jesus, then you're not for him. And if you're not for Jesus, you're against him. That's not a contradiction. That's just saying there's only two possibilities. You're either for Jesus or you're against him. For whoever is not against you is for you, he told the disciples. If they're not against you, they're for you. Because there's two types. If they're not against you, they're for you. And in the same way, he who is not with me is against me. In other words, there's two different sides. That's all there is. There's only two different sides to this. Jesus said there's people who side with him and there's people who don't. That's all there is in the world. So that's not a contradiction. That's a simple statement of truth. And the exclusivity is the problem. When you're trying to stop other people who are doing the same thing you're trying to do, or you're getting your nose in other people's business. That's exactly what Jesus was saying in both of these cases, is get your nose out of other people's business. The disciples said, and we tried to stop him because he is not one of us. And Jesus said, do not stop him. Get your nose out of their business, in other words. Keep your nose in your own business. Luke 11:23, same thing. He who is not with me is against me, and he who does not gather with me scatters. In other words, if someone doesn't gather with them, he's keeping his nose away from them. They're going to scatter. And that's not, Jesus said that's their business. He said, keep your nose out of it, basically. That's an important part of leadership, is not, first of all, not having exclusivity, keeping your mind on your own goals. And when you have a goal and you're trying to accomplish it, and all the other people you're with are also trying to accomplish the same goal, then you can be a real leader by being a servant to everyone else, and by serving everyone else, and accomplishing the goal that you're all trying to accomplish, and all you're doing is trying to organize it. It's like an overseer in the church. An overseer is one who oversees meetings. An overseer or a pastor is not a person who dictates everything to a congregation. A pastor is someone who oversees meetings, who makes them run smoothly, who helps organize and keep things running and flowing in an organized fashion, keeps it from getting out of hand. So leadership is about servanthood, and it's not about exclusivity. It's not about putting our nose into other people's business. Leadership is about having a goal and going that way. And when you are serving other people will follow you. If you're a leader, people will follow you, and anyone can become a leader just by wanting to accomplish something, and other people will end up following. So that's my message for today on leadership. Thanks for listening.